Good evening and welcome to Hot Topics from the Soul. I'm your host, Dr. Valerie Parker-Hagan, and I'm so delighted to be here with you today. And it is a wonderful evening. My co-host, Dr. J.R. Thicklin, will be joining us shortly, but I have some of my dearest friends joining us tonight, Glen and Veronica Brooks. Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
I'm so excited for you guys to be on tonight. Glenn, you just had a 60th birthday.
Yes, I did.
yes, he did. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
How was that, Glenn?
Well, my wife did a fabulous job. She tricked me, and
Yes,
I
she
knew
did.
something was kind of fishy because she was like, "Don't you have somewhere to go?" And I was like, "No." And then she said, "Won't you go take a ride or something?" And I'm like, "I ain't got nowhere to go." And but she did a good job. I mean, she snuck in my goddaughter. I'm talking about
Yes,
she snuck her in. She flew in from Jacksonville. They
Wow.
taking the luggage and putting it in the closet and everything. All
yes, we
it
hit
was like ninja style stuff. And I was like, what in the world? But I had so much fun. She really did a fabulous job. But
Well, the
that's
show the show is called Love When It's Right. And the reason why I wanted you guys to be on is because you've had an extensive journey. How long have you two been married?
uh it's been a while.
Veronica, you wanted him to fall on the sword?
it. No, it's been about a good 39 years.
39 years.
It's been a while.
Okay, and how long have y'all been together?
About 45, I would say. About 45. Because we met when I
I'm
was
having
about
some trouble with
14.
the connection. Please try again in a moment.
Uh-oh.
Y'all lost connection?
What? What? Glenn,
No,
see, no,
you know
he's
what
trying to play it
happened?
off.
That Cyrus thing picked up what she said. I don't know why it did that. It picked your voice up.
Oh, okay.
That's why I don't like gadgets, because they be talking back to you.
I know, like Alexa, you like somebody talking to her. I told Alex that I'ma turn his girlfriend off.
Ah,
Yeah, she be talking. You be sitting here, and she just come out and say something.
Yeah, she used to answer me, "Hello, Valerie." Now she like, "Hello, Alex."
Oh my God!
I said, "Nah, this ain't gonna work for me."
oh my God.
But my co-host, Dr. Jared Thicklin's in studio. Let's bring him in. Dr. J.
Well, good evening, good people. How are you?
Doing great.
Hello, Dr.
Awesome.
J.
It's good seeing you all again.
You
Yes,
too.
you
Same
too
to
as
you.
well.
39 years and counting. Wow.
Yep. Still counting.
Yes. Well, as I was saying, we've been together, well, known each other for 45 years.
Wow.
You know, we're teenagers back then, you know, we don't know nothing.
Oh, I knew something.
Oh,
She didn't know
oh,
that. I knew.
yeah, I guess. Oh, you gotta tell them the story. Yeah.
Okay, so how old were you two when you met?
She was
14.
14, and
Yeah, he
I
was 16.
just turned 16. Yeah.
14 and 16. Now the show, like I said, is Love When It's Right. So Glenn, how did you know it's right? Because we have so many individuals that, are trying to get on the dating scene and some that are dating, and they have such expectations from their partner. They want the butterflies, and they want the fireworks when they meet that person. When they kiss, they want to hear sparkles, and they watch television and they think everything is supposed to be
Right.
like that. So how was it for you and Veronica?
Well, it was a genuine for me. It was like instantaneous. I mean, it was like one of those moments of my life that uh, when I saw her, it was like there was no questions. It was like I don't know. It
Well,
was
what did she have, a halo over her? What?
no. She was just and like I told the story before. We were in Bible study, and I was late because I used to work, and then I went to church in the evening after work. And this particular day, I don't know how long she was in Oklahoma, but this particular night I went to Bible study. I was sitting all the way in the back, I had my Bible, getting ready. I was trying to figure out where they were at in Bible study. And like I said, a lot of people may not believe in hearing God's voice. I heard that voice, and it was like this voice said, look up in the right-hand corner. And I'm trying to figure out where they at in Bible study, but it was like God said, look in the right-hand corner. And I looked up there, and that's where she was. And I never seen her before in my life. And automatically God said, that's your wife. And I was like, oh my God.
First
Yeah.
day there.
It blew my mind. So
So
after
he told you to turn to the book of Veronica, second chapter, third verse.
You know
yeah. And you know what, doctor? That angel tapped me on my shoulder and said, boy, you better go get her. It was awesome. It was one of those divine moments. And even though I was young, but at that time, I think my heart was innocent towards God. And just having that innocent heart, you could hear clearly from God. So I didn't question it. I just went to her, and no matter what she was thinking in her mind at the time, she probably like, who in the world is this boy? But I knew my mark.
Wow.
Yes, because I had no clue. I didn't like him like that or anything. This he no. he introduced himself because I believe that was my first night there at that.
The first night at the church?
Yes, very first.
Yeah.
That's the first time I seen her. That when I saw her.
Yeah, because my parents sent me there to stay with one of my siblings because they, thought my dad was getting ready to pass. So that's how I ended up there in Oklahoma City, and he seemed to be a nice gentleman. He was always, just like I said, he came back there and introduced himself. He started talking. He was pretty mature for his age, though. But my focus just wasn't there. Wasn't there.
Okay, so you're 14 and 16. Some years pass, and then you get married. So what happened in between?
There's quite a bit of things.
No, you didn't even ask me. You didn't ask me.
Oh, I think she want to know the in between.
In between, you didn't even ask me. Okay, what was the in between?
Well, the in betweens, I think when God was.
I mean, did you go away to college? Did you go in the military? What happened?
I think the in betweens was the point where the challenge came in. We were challenged by circumstances that were beyond our control. Okay. I was working at the time, like I said, and a lot of times I get off late, and I used to call her every night while I was at work. And there was a point that her sister didn't want me to talk to her. And she made that, she talked to my mother and explained to my mom, said, I don't really want Glenn to be calling her late at night or come by. So I kind of just obeyed my mom and kind of moved back and pushed back away from her.
Dr. Valerie, they thought we were doing something, but Glenn never ever touched her. He never touched me. Yeah. Never did any kind of things. He always was joking, making me laugh. I'm always talking about, my dad and stuff like that. Right. So later on, he went into the military. And when he came back, that's when he just kind of told me that I was going to marry him.
Right.
And how long after that did y'all get married?
Matter of fact,
like
I took her
months, right?
Yeah, it was pretty fast because when I came back, I went to Oklahoma, and because I was getting ready to move to Beeville, Texas, I came and got her and brought her with me, and we got we got married. I almost had to drag her a little bit.
Yeah, you did. You did drag me because I was chickening out. Didn't want to. So
and I told her, I explained to her, I
dragged
said,
me
it's
up
going to be
this-
okay. I said, let's just do it. And we
nervous.
did
I
it.
was scared, I guess.
And so, was it okay, Veronica? So, let the ladies know from your perspective the things that the shift that happened. Because although Glenn said that he knew you were the one, and it sounds like you had some reservations. So,
Yeah.
about that shift and how that occurred in this relationship.
Well, I just don't know what to say. I was really nervous. I was scared. I want to be open. I want to be honest just about everything and talk a little bit more first and things like that. But he said, don't worry about nothing. Everything's okay. Everything's going to be fine. And that's how I end up just going up the steps. And then the judge said, you're nervous. And I said, yes. And Glenn said, oh, she's going to be okay. She's going to be okay. I'm going to take care of her. So,
yeah.
So 39 years later, here you are. How many children and grandchildren do you have?
Actually, got eight grandchildren.
three boys.
3 boys, 8 grandchildren.
Yeah, one has 4. The other 2 have 2.
Okay, and are they near or they're in state? Did they follow suit and go into the military as well?
They were afraid of military. They saw me because I was always in and out, and it was strenuous. So they saw that, and they had it. Military was not an appeal for them. So they like, no, pops, I'm not going to military, because they saw how many times I was in and out, in and out, in and out. So, we did have one son. He went in later on.
Yeah,
But Joe.
Joe, he went into the Marines for I think about 8-10 years or something like that.
8 or 10 years in the Marines, aren't they the hardest corps?
That's why
that was his challenge.
Because I was Navy, and he told me, he basically said I was a wimp. So he joined the Marine Corps to prove a point.
Oh God!
Yeah,
I'm gonna show Joe this video. Joe, you hear that? He gonna be laughing at you.
Wow, that's awesome. So, Glenn, you traveled the world being in the Navy, and Veronica, you were there managing the household and the children. How was that? And at any point, did you feel that you erred, that y'all made a mistake because of the paths, the career he had chosen?
Well, for me, I felt like someone, just a single parent, because he was gone so much. And there was times people ridiculed me basically because I wouldn't go out there and sleep around like they did, because that just was not my style, that I couldn't do those things. But you're with your kids, you want to make the best of it. You don't really even think about yourself. You're just doing. It's just automatically, going to every PTA meeting, going to all their games. And my kids, I think they had so many games. I was like, God, did they make this game up? I'm like attending all these games. I was like, I had to even borrow people just because sometimes they were at the same time, and then they're pretty close in age. So yeah, it's tough on a woman. As a single parent, I can understand how you could get frustrated. I can understand how you could get stressed out. I can understand how you want to give up. But the main thing I would suggest to even parents that are single, sometimes you just need a break from your own kids, your own children. You need to get away sometimes. You need to relax sometimes, because it can be very frustrating. And I'm glad that I was able to just make it through just the struggles that we had as my kids were growing up. But I'm grateful too that I actually got the experience, because the older you get, the wiser you get. Some of the regrets I had, I didn't know how to really teach them about my own culture, my own Black history. And that's the thing that's one of the regrets. But my parents didn't really do that neither, because they were basically protecting me, because my dad was about 60 years old when I was born. My mother was 50 when I was born. So they probably were just trying to protect me. But I think you grow up a certain way and you're in all the elegance, all the wealth, it's a little bit different. But that was the thing I told my kids. I said, I'm so sorry I didn't teach you that part. But they said, oh, Mom, you're a good mom. I said, okay, thank you. I'll take it. I'll take it. But yeah, that was one of the things, because I learned so much about my own culture and how powerful it is and how we are so strong. That's why we stand firm, and that's why we succeed much further than we even think we could even do, because it's naturally in us from the very beginning, because it's like rooted in us to win and just live in success. It's naturally, all we have to do is really focus and find it.
So when you're talking about love and you're talking about when it's right, and it's the challenges that oftentimes really ends up really defining the relationship. It cultivates the ground. And so when I listen to you, and of course, Glenn goes off to the military, but he's doing what he's doing. He's being the man. He's making a career. He wants to take care of his family and all those things there.
Yeah.
Your role becomes magnified because you're there with the children. So my question to you, as you waited for him to come home, whether, to come home or whatever, was it more like, if he ever gets home, everything will be all right? Or did you kind of eventually just develop that mindset that, this is not a destination, it's a journey? Because I could just imagine some people just waiting with bated breath, 3 more days before he comes, 2 more days before he comes, 1 more day before he comes. But there was life after that. And so what was your mindset during that time? And Glenn, what was your mindset being away, knowing that, hey, I'm quite sure that's a part of you that was, you acknowledged she had to do the heavy lifting back home. But what was it that kind of kept you focused and not wait till you come through the door and say, oh, here go all your children, what was it?
No, I understand. That's a very, very good question, because when he came home, the kids were so excited. We get all these, welcome home signs, and all these things like that. But the truth of the matter, when those days that he's there, it's different. He's not disciplining the kids like I've been doing. It's a different thing, and you begin to bump heads because you don't know how the kids are. Kids are so smart. I don't care whether they're 2 years old or what. They're very intelligent.
They know who to manipulate.
Yes, they are very good manipulators, and they used to do it to him. Especially when he goes to sleep, because he says yes to everything. But the thing is, it causes friction, and if you don't know how to handle that friction, it's gonna become a big argument. It's gonna be a fight, and sometimes it could get physical too. You can have those fights like that. But the thing is, how are you going to handle it? What is the mindset? Well, when you pray a lot, of course, that is one of the things that help. That's one of the biggest things that help. But not only pray, but you have to get an understanding in your relationship. You have to understand who you are, You have to understand really who he is, and when he comes home, what he's dealt with. So I looked at it like he's on a ship, and he's out there, from anywhere from 8 months to a year.
Wow.
So at first it wasn't, there was battles there for us. But when I took that cruise on their ship, they take you out, they call it a tiger cruise. And you see how they sleep, you see where they eat.
Did your children go too, or just you?
Yes, the children went too.
Okay.
And I don't know. You're so tall. How in the world you even fit in that bed? The bed is like about like this, and then it's like about this wide. I mean, and they have to stay on there that long. So my thinking after a while, I said, okay, I need to make the very best what I can out of it. So I start bagging up a bunch of goodies, sending it out there to him, and then everything else followed because all his friends wanted me to send to them because they saw how good he was having it. But I did that, but that came down years down the line. Now that's not overnight. There's battles that you go through, there's mindset changes that you go through, and there's like for me, sometimes I just wanted him to pay attention to me, but he cannot do that. He has to pay attention to the kids. So the kids, kind of win that over the mother or a single father, I would say. But yeah, they have to get that attention because you've been through so much, just trying to keep your mind and thoughts together, trying to
survive
kids and trying to do the right thing. And then, you don't want to hear that your child is doing this in school. Like, okay, he's not listening. He's not doing this. You got to go up there to the school, handle this. And then you're sitting up all night, half the night, doing homework with them, making sure that's done. Then they have all these sports. You got to make sure they're to the game. You got to make sure lunch is all these things like that. So when he comes, yeah, it's a different story for him.
Yeah,
but
he's Santa Claus.
Yes. Yes. And he does no wrong at all. He's just like the perfect. But then it's like I become the villain. Come on, Mom.
Yeah, and you're talking about this living military life, but people are living like this day to day where the dad is working constantly and the mother's home and vice versa. It's not always the woman that's there working at home and have a job. Sometimes the roles are reversed, but they still have the same conflicts that you're speaking about right now. And the love that you have and share for one another allows you to continue functioning even in the midst of division.
Absolutely.
So Glenn, you heard Veronica said you was coming on being ho ho ho. like most dads, especially when the couple is divorced or separated and the mom is there and then dad just swoops in and takes them out for the weekend, buy them all kind of stuff, and then runs back out into his single life. So how did you compensate her for the work that she was doing? Because we know that love covers a multitude, but what can you say to men that may not be in the same situation, but in the situation that I explained about them being parents that are of divorce, etc., that the responsibilities still lie there? What would you say to them?
Well, if I was to speak on behalf of a man that's divorced, and I would say it's probably going to be the most important thing is that man is in those kids' lives and absorb as much as they can that individual, I mean, each of the kids, and make sure that they're steering them in the right direction. Because I believe the absence of a man, especially when it comes to boys, the absence of a man, they have no measuring of what a man is really like. There's no way they can indicate to find a way to build themselves to be a good man. A woman is good for the presence of nurturing and teaching and et cetera, but when it comes to making that young person, that young man, understand that life is full of responsibilities for a man, I believe, in my perspective, a man needs to teach that young boy that. Because when we've been married, we used to help young boys that were in single homes. And I took my time out of my schedule away from my wife to help other young boys, including my sons, because we used to take my boys with other young boys that was in single homes. And I spent time with them. I took them camping, fishing, and you'll be surprised, those young men today, they're not in jail and they are not in that graveyard.
Awesome.
Yeah, they are not in that graveyard or in prison. And it's because when I go back, I look at those same young men, they grown men now, but they always come back and they said, Mr. Brooks, I don't know where I would have been without you helping me to get there. And like I said, I didn't know the effects of it until after the fact. But, and again, she has to absorb the other part of it. It's hard for the woman because she has to deal with it day in, day out. But I'm here and back, and gone. And it was hard for me to come in because I couldn't come in and rush in and say, okay, I got this thing. Because I had to sit back and observe and see what was going on. I had to see how she was feeling, how she was doing, and I had to look at my boys. I couldn't come back and just put the hammer down. I had to migrate back into the family situation.
And how long were you at home at different times?
Well, when I was actually stationed in Jacksonville, there was times I might come in for 2 weeks and we'd go deployed, then come back a week, then go back out again. And then we'd go to Fallon, then come back. We go to Key West, then come back, and then we go out on they call workups, preparing for cruise. We'd do that for a month, come back, and then 2 weeks later, gone for 8-9 months.
Wow!
Until they changed that, they changed it to 6 months because they figured it was really putting a lot of hamper on the families.
Yeah, it caused a lot of divorces.
Yeah,
too.
it was tough. A military wife has to be a strong woman. And see, Veronica was strong. She wasn't like those other women. Some of those other women, they fold. And half of the guys I knew on the ship didn't have a wife when they got back home.
Wow.
I came back and my wife was there. So if I was to reward her during those periods, it was hard for me to figure out. It was hard for me to figure out because the thing, I never took my pressures that I've been, all the headaches and the things that I experienced being on the ship. I try not to come back and pour it on her. Because even then when I retired, I said to myself, I'm finally released from prison. It felt like.
And how many years did you do?
I did 24 years.
Wow.
I did 24 years. And yes, our mattress is about that thick. And my bones would hit that metal.
I don't know how they sleep
and
in those.
Constant noise all the time. You worked 7 days a week, 12 hours a day on that ship. And you only slept about 3 hours a day. That was constant every day.
That's crazy.
And then if you're in a conflict, if we're in war like Desert Storm, I didn't think we were going to ever come back home. I was like, because they just wouldn't tell us. Because they wanted us to stay focused on the mission. So all those things I just didn't share with her because.
But how often were you able to communicate?
Oh, well they later on in the military, when technology, the innovation of technology, we started getting emails and we were able to do those things. Before, there was no emails. and there was no phones. What we had to do, we had to write letters. And then a lot of times in transit, the mail might end up that she'll send a letter, but that letter come late. I should have had that letter first, but it got caught somewhere else overseas. And I get a letter that I'm reading it, and it didn't make sense because I didn't have the previous letter before that. And then when that letter comes, oh, that's what she about. So it was madness. I've seen guys. I mean, a lot of guys, they go into major depression. I've seen people murdered on the ship because of the anxiety. It was crazy. It's crazy stuff. But and again, like I said, it was hard for me to come. I had to come on and fit back into the family fold. But I didn't want to bring my experience and the things I was dealing with back home, because sometimes I hated it. Some days I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. But then again, the rewards is now. I'm reaping all those rewards. The 24 years is rewarding us now.
Yeah, so that's major, because you just described for us what it means to be able to handle adversity and yet and still, manage to do all you can to make the home a home, because that is a big problem. We see it all the time. Oftentimes people coming back from military experiencing PTSD, a lot of time not having the help that they need, and home gets very rocky very quickly inside of those situations. We've seen it happen over and over again. We've led trainings and things as a result of those type things happening. But what you described to me also, though, is what I would call having your sights kind of still locked and fixed on the fact of your family. It just seems like what I hear from you is that you recognize the sacrifice that was going on Veronica's end, but also knew the fact that it would pay off. It is almost like let me stay afloat, because this won't be always inside of that. And I think that takes incredible longevity. It takes incredible patience. It takes incredible trusting and just believing God that it won't be this way always. And I love when I hear you say, well, you guys are now reaping the rewards. It has afforded you a good life. It has afforded you education. It's afforded you a lot of things. And and that's the way we would like to see things. But I think you just also described how many times we crack up on adversity. We do.
Yes.
We crack up on adversity, and sometimes people will charge it to our hearts, but I'm not so sure if it's our hearts or our heads, because I think when our head space is not in the right space,
right,
it makes it very easy to make decisions that you might have not made had your head been right. And so I applaud you inside of that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Oh, and I really want to be open with this. I've had while I was in the service, I've actually had shipmates that even their insurance policy, they didn't have insurance policy in their wife's name. They had to go into their moms and stuff.
Wow.
And I told them, I said, my wife is a trooper. I said, she's a soldier. I said, I would never, ever do that to her.
Right.
There's people that have passed away, and the wife was trying to apply for the death certificate and everything to get the insurance and stuff, and come to find out the insurance is in the mom's name.
Wow.
They didn't sign everything over to the mom or somebody else. We had one incident where a guy died on a ship. He left it to another guy and had a wife.
Why?
And I told him, I said, I would never, ever do that to my wife. I said, because she's been there. And I said, I consider her serving with me. And I said, if I die, I don't need it. What is it going to do for me?
Exactly.
So her sacrifice is well worth the policy, period. And it didn't even matter if we got divorced. I would have left it going to her because I already know what she did.
Right.
I saw what she did. She did the sacrifice. Mm-hmm. So to me, money don't matter dead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm glad you shared that, Glenn, because of the fact that there are so many couples that are in that situation where they have gotten married and they've still left everything in the previous person's beneficiary's name, haven't even considered changing it. They just leaving it as it is. And then if something does happen to them, and like you said, they find out that they're not even the beneficiary holder. And then there have been cases that I know of personally where the spouse died, and because it was in the mom or the sister name, they cut the wife out of everything. She didn't even know when they want to bury him.
Oh,
You know, horrible stuff like that, you know. And I'm so thankful and grateful. Like my husband, Alex, you know, he's my second marriage. My first husband, he didn't believe in insurance. He said everybody's going to be raptured. So he didn't need to get insurance.
oh,
But,
boy.
you know, and I've told my children, I've told my sons, you'll have kids and you have their mothers, you make sure they're going to be taken care of.
Absolutely.
And that's the message that we need to continue on saying. You know, you have children with a woman, you make sure that you have policies in place because nobody knows the day nor the hour when it will come. But we want to make sure that the children are taken care of, and that a wife or girlfriend or whatever is taking care of whatever you chose her, and vice versa. The women, you need to make sure that the policy is in place for your children and whoever's going to take care of your child, because life does happen, situations happen where you do separate, but then if you have children, it's not about you, it's about them.
You know, it's interesting that you bring that point up because the fact there's so many different scenarios. You think about it. Most recently, I had to go back as I looked at my employer that I left back in 1995, and I wanted to make sure what was everything at, since they changed ownership a few times. So I tracked them down. I wanted to find out, okay, hold up. Now I need to understand, am I entitled to certain benefits right now? And then, of course, that great question, who is the beneficiary? Who do I have? And they had my last wife on it. And of course, since she and I had no children whatsoever, I immediately said, no, I need to change that. And I put my children on it because the fact they are the ones that's been with me through it all. So I want to make sure of that, because had I not done that, could you imagine had I not done that and not done that? And, you know, and that person gets to cash in on it and the kids try to figure out, you know, hey, what happened with dad? Dad didn't think of us at all.
They'll be done dug you up.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. So,
And you know, yes, it is very important, Dr. J, that we everyone listening to me, yes, you need insurance.
Absolutely.
You must get insurance. Just like they keep pushing everybody to get medical insurance, you need life insurance.
Yes.
I'm not recommending. I'm not recommending anybody, because I'm not in life insurance. I'm not an insurance agent. But you need to make sure your family is taken care of. People have lost their lives during COVID, and they found out that policies weren't what they needed to be, and people got the money, and the family was still stuck trying to bury their loved ones because that policy was in somebody else's name who, you know, had went on, didn't care, and was glad they were dead. So you need to make sure that your affairs are in order.
And Glenn is very clear on that, you know, because when we were in our 20s, we've always had life insurance. We've always made sure that was a priority, but our parents, you know, they taught us well. So everybody, and I understand everybody doesn't have that opportunity, but then when they have people out there like, you know, Dr. J, Dr. Valerie, you know, mentioning it, it's because you know what happens. You've seen it over and over. people are trying to go on GoFundMe to raise money just to bury them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, they don't. Yeah. So yeah, that's very vital. That's very important. In you might not say you don't have enough, but there's policies out there. I mean, just as much as like $7 you could get.
The younger you get them, the cheaper they are, the more
exactly.
money you will get.
You definitely better get it before you get sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah. The pre-existing things, that we often hear legislators talk about, it is real, it's serious. And insurance industry have had to rethink it because with the pandemic we've just come through and think, well, who haven't been impacted? Who haven't been affected? So, they have to make certain exemptions. But I think the main thing is this. People oftentimes don't think about insurance from the perspective they could. I remember as a little boy, and I would be listening to Sunday morning gospel or weekday gospel, and they would always have a sponsorship by the insurance company and a funeral company, and they would say, "You get your life insurance. It's better to need it and not have it. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it." And as a little boy, I always try to figure, what did that mean? Well, I understood it eventually. Listen, you'd rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Right.
And that's the important thing. And as you said, the younger, the better. The younger, the better. And I think that we have to look at not just from the standpoint of having it, but life insurance could really become part of generational wealth if we are maneuvering and doing it the right way inside of it. And I think that's the thing that's important. And yet, still, people will spend money and crazy money on different adventures, pleasures, and all those things there, and don't think of it another time. And then I watch people that get confused with the GoFundMe, and I don't understand how they will go and throw a $30,000 funeral, but had no policy on the individual. But they want to raise money, they send them through the city, want to do all those things there, but you wasn't responsible enough to have a policy on them. And it just becomes, it's a weird way. It's a weird way of doing things.
Yes.
Yeah, that is, something to consider, Dr. J. And, I'm remembering, like, here I am, a single parent, struggling to make ends meet, no child support, nothing coming in, but I knew I needed policies. So I had a policy with each one of my children. It was a $30,000 policy, and for each one, it was $12.97 a month, and that policy included it was $30,000. Then it was accidental, and if something happened where they had to go to the hospital, they got $200 a day. Well, I had carried that policy on each one of them. They had it I had it almost 10 years. So when the kids were in their 20s, as they turned in their 20s and they're working on their jobs, I said, this is your policy. This is what you pay on every month. Is it $12, less than $15 a month? Them jokers let the thing go because each one of them let it go, and I didn't know they had let it go because I would have continued paying for it, but I was trying to teach them responsibilities.
Right.
And because, and the reasoning for letting it go was, I got insurance on the job.
Oh.
Well, when you go get on these jobs and they tell you have this much of policy, $1,000 policy, that's not enough money to bury nobody. They give $1,000 towards life insurance. So beware of this. I brought up that to enlighten people. Don't think because you on a job and they say you have life insurance that when you leave that job, that policy is intact. My husband was a wildland firefighter for 30 years. He had insurance. But when he left that job, that insurance didn't exist. He had to have a separate policy. They only covered you while you work.
Yes. That's
so be wise in life decisions, especially this dispensation that we're living in right now. You have to prepare for legacy. And speaking about legacy, Glenn, you just turned 60 years old. What legacies do you want to have put in place. Oh man. Well, no, I can't even say that because I'm older than you.
I know.
Well, I'm a young old lady.
Valerie, Dr. Valerie, you're amazing.
Yes.
One of the things that I've done, I've this is really what I've done. I've put together almost all our grandchildren. I started them a business on their own, and then me and Veronica we have created a joint business, which is the wealth development business, and I've been training my youngest son, and then my middle-aged son that's in Japan. I got him. I got him to understand what type of nature the business is. And then I have my grandson that's he's achieving right now, going towards his computer science degree / minor in business. So I'm trying to get them all well groomed and prepared to run a technology company. That's what I'm trying to do. That's the legacy I'm trying to leave. And then joint with my wife she's got a few things that's going to leave legacies too. But we've always talked about this, even when we were young. We always thought about, hey, what we're going to do to make sure that when we leave, our generational, from generation to generation, continues to thrive off of something that we've created. Because like my mom and dad was during the era where most of the people didn't finish high school.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the economy. My dad he was always a worker. He's always out there working. Her mom, she never worked. She never had a job in her life. All she's done is raised us. And that's the way it was. My granddaddy, same thing. My granddad was out there working. He was a farmer, and he worked. He left a lot of land. He had waterfront land. He had all kinds of things that he left. But the thing is, if the family's not educated on legacy, they'll just swindle away. And we lost every property that my granddad worked hard. And I mean, he worked hard to make sure that it was in place. We lost it all. And that's because the education of our family legacy. Yeah.
Yeah, that is so important. And the reason why I brought that up is because I know we have a listening audience that really don't even, hasn't even entertained that because they're so busy trying to live day to day. They don't think about long term, what it's going to look like, what it's going to be like, because they're in survival mode. And I get it because I'm telling you, when I was, divorced, living in the garage with my 4 kids, I just kept thinking about, okay, getting out and making sure I had something for them in case my life was cut short. I always had that thought because of the fact that I worked so much. I was like, oh my God, are you going to give me grace to continue? Because every day it just seems like this is it. I'm going to go to bed and not wake up because it was just so much of a load on me. And I always taught the kids, I said, whatever y'all do, y'all stick together. Whatever you do, you look out for one another. And they do that to this day. And they have children and they're making sure that their children know each other and stay connected and they visit and things. So this is legacy. This is what we have to build. The way things are going right now, these kids are, derailed, mentally, and they're shooting, they're molesting people, they're assaulting. It's just out of control. These children just didn't happen. They belong to somebody. They had parents.
Yes.
What are we teaching them?
Yes.
And if we don't step up to the plate as parents, we're going to have more of a disaster on our hands. We have to teach generational wealth. We
Yes.
have to teach our children who they are and whose they are.
Yes.
We have to bring God back into the house. You don't want to go to church? You read your Bible and pray at home if you don't want to go to church. I know people have church hurt. I've
Yeah.
experienced. I was married to a preacher. I know about church hurt, but that didn't stop me from connecting with God.
Right.
You need a power higher than your own. Otherwise, you won't be able to survive this onslaught that is here and is coming.
Yes.
We have to stand for something. So protect yourselves, protect your children, protect legacy.
Yes.
You know, Dr. B, you put it right where it is. And even when you start talking about church, I would say the church has to rise up and do also a better job in teaching these principles. That it's more than about what we can just give to the church, but the
Right.
Bible said it is He that gives us the power to get wealth. We must teach wealth principles, and those wealth principles have to exist more than outside of our four walls of the church. How do you understand generational wealth when we look at the fact of how is it that a blessed man leaves an inheritance to his children's children? That's not something he just does on a wish list. There has to be principles in place.
Right.
There must be investments in place. There must be things that are there. And so one thing that I do believe that will draw more young people to the church, and this is going so we don't want any letters being written into us, is when the church becomes more relevant. We must become
Yes.
relevant to a generation who is seeing astronomical acceleration look like everywhere but at their house. And so the church has to become more relevant to them, that our experience is more than just a spiritual experience, more than just an emotional experience, but that we serve a holistic God that wants us to benefit and prosper. I mean, right there. I wish that above all things, now that blows me away. Above all things, imagine that. Above your jumping and your shouting, that you would prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. And because that's not always magnified or presented in the way that's empowering, you have a lot of people that deal with church hurt because they feel like church just trying to rob me. You're just taking my money. Well, I promise you, God is not trying to rob you. But perhaps the way that you've seen things done through some places, it may seem like they might as well have on a mask and have a gun and say, stick him up. But I promise you, that's not the principle of God. And when we begin to make this the case, because generations are growing up, your sons and daughters, my sons and daughters, they're growing up. They're getting a grasp. They're now talking about generational wealth. And they're doing so without blaming the previous generation for not setting them up. But what they do know, they don't want to go a step further without making sure that they are financially sound, that they have things there, and that they understand that being spiritual or loving God doesn't mean that you're poor, broke, busted, and disgusted. And we have to be the who wants to help channel that message of advance and going further. I can applaud you, Glenn. I can applaud you. I can applaud you every time I've ever met you or been in conversation with you. And Veronica, one of the things that have always impressed me was you didn't have to look far to see how you had prioritized family, how you prioritize finance and fiscal stability. You didn't have to look far to see it because you didn't see it as a burden. You saw it as a responsibility. In other words, it was the extended expression of who you were as a man. And we have to bring that back into the fold where we are proud men. Taking care of our families means something to us. Setting our families in position is an honor. It is an extension of our blessing. And I just thank you. And it's refreshing to see that. It's very much refreshing to see that. And it's good to see brothers not always singing the song, it's just so hard, man, to get by. Sometimes it's a matter of let's get it together. Let's set our house in order. Let's make this thing happen, and everybody can eat.
I totally agree. Because if my ideal of helping to even teach one, because that's what I talk about as well, because I bumped into those issues in my own household. So if each one teach one, just one, each one teach one, when they learn, it's it'll go viral basically, well, it is now. I mean, because people are starting to learn, how to create wealth, how to build wealth, how to use their own skills, how to use their own abilities to create the wealth. But each one has to teach one. And the church is the church. It is what it is. But sometimes we just have to take, the time. You learn this, so just take that time to go teach somebody else what you just learned about creating wealth. And just like on this program here, Dr. Valerie is so amazing. If they just take what they just learned and just go teach one person, you don't have to know a whole big book, just what you just learned, just about the life insurance. If you could get the life insurance and then, pass it down, there it is. You just take the time and just teach one.
And
Each
yeah,
one.
like you said, Veronica, teaching them about, policies they have in place. People are into cryptocurrency, they're into social media and making money, but you make the money. How do you apply the money?
Right, exactly. Exactly.
How do
And
you
that's
apply the money? Are you burning through it because hey, I'm buying me some new shoes, I'm buying these clothes, or I'm flashing with my car? What are you doing with the finances you were gifted? So you need to know
see, and
wealth principles. So what's that website that you all have, Veronica? I know I have veronicabrooks.com where individuals can connect with you, but is there anything on there regarding financial workshops you have?
I don't have no workshops right now because I'm taking my time teaching one at a time. But no,
Okay.
I used to have a lot of workshops, and I used to do a lot of coaching. Now I do mentoring, which I, charge, just for the mentoring portion of it.
Right.
But yeah, they could go to veronicabrooks.com and they can see that. They can actually get my books on wealth. And,
Okay.
they could just, if they could just touch bases with me, I'm sure they'll get more than they bargained for and they can run with it because it's just I have that natural gift that God has given me and to build up for them to run with success. And it's almost
Hmm.
like every day I always have one new person that's saying, "Oh, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I could do this niche to go head on and just succeed right here just from talking just like 5 minutes."
Hmm.
So yeah, if they go to my website and just
Contact.
just contact me and just ask me because I want you to achieve. I want you to achieve
Hmm.
your dreams. I want you to achieve your goals. I want you to get an understanding about creating wealth and having the wealth and not going what you talked about, all go buy these big old cars and things like that. You don't need all that. You just need to get from point A to point B. All the other money you could keep and then you could build and then actually like the cryptocurrency, like right now it's crashed. That's what you need to buy right now. You need to buy, and then it's gonna go up. It's gonna go up. So look there. There's which one can we give them so they could just she
Oh,
yeah
crypto.com.
yeah
Yes, it's
crypto.com.
her,
They could go
but
there.
yeah, because I did crypto.com, and in a much easier way. If you want to do stock and buy bitcoins, you can do it through Square, Cash App, Cash App.
Mhm.
Is it? Yeah,
Yep, you
Cash
could
App.
do
That's
it.
what it is.
Cash App. You
Yeah,
could do it.
but you
Cash
have to
App. You could
invest
go.
in something.
Yes, Stash. You could go through acorns.com. I mean, there's a variety of them, and
Robin
you
Hood.
don't have to put money. You don't have to put a whole lot of money. If you have $5, you got money. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
You have money. You have $5.
And then what they need to do when they go, especially in cryptocurrency, I know there's a lot of platforms out there, but they just need to do their research because there's platforms that are more beneficial than others. service.
Right.
A lot of them you can buy stuff, but some places allow you to do staking. Some have reflections. A lot of things that helps you to create money through that platform, and it's just not a platform. Just
And Glenn, I
So
don't know anything about this, so if I can do it, anybody could do it because I have a hard time with my website. Glenn's like, it's time for your website to be renewed. And I'm like, okay, how do I do this? And I be on my website trying to learn how to pay it. I can't get it done. I'm like, listen, just take the money. I need to make sure I'm up and functioning if I can't do nothing else.
you're good.
You are.
So I appreciate you, and I appreciate Veronica. I appreciate the friendship that we've developed over the years. And, I'm looking to your next, the great things that y'all have coming up. And I just can't wait for it to be revealed to the world, your next level of increase. So I thank God for you being my friends.
Oh, I love you, Dr. Valerie.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Valerie. You're my friend.
Yes.
Yeah. How did I do on my birthday greeting to you?
Oh, Valerie, you know what? I had the professional Ron. He said, this lady here, she has everything together. They need to get with her. Oh man. And it was like he was so excited. He didn't know you were gonna be on there. And then he saw Les Brown on there, and then he saw Dr. Boyce. It was so hilarious because when they sung happy birthday, and then Les talking about just close your eyes. And Boyce was like Nat King Cole.
Mona Lisa.
It was awesome. I enjoyed myself.
Yes, he had no idea, and we had the sneak stuff. We had to hide people, flying in. You have to hide a whole human being, right? Yeah,
That's
so
good.
it was.
Life is about moments that we create. Dr. J, you have any closing remarks for us? How can they find you and your website, everything?
Well, definitely. I'm almost afraid to say it. I have Glenn on the line now. He'll go check it, and he'll probably tell me the 7 things that's wrong with it. But anyway, that might be constructive. But you can find me at www.jrpickland.com. and we have another website there, destinybychoice.org. But I just wanted to say it's always been a pleasure having you guys on. I'm always refreshed. I'm always reinvigorated when I'm in your presence, and it just give me the inspiration as well as the confirmation that I'm going in the right direction, and I'm inspired to do greater as a result of you guys. I appreciate it. Don't let anyone tell you that you cannot impact people's lives, even from afar, because you do, and I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. You all do too.
Well, we're about out of time, and I just wanted to say thank you for joining another Hot Topics from the Soul, and ask that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Hot Topics from the Soul, and also visit www.fromthesoulofAwoman.com. That's www.fromthesoulofAwoman.com. And if this show has been a blessing, forward it to someone, because love, when it right, works. It works when it's right, and we have testimonies here. And if this is not for you, I'm sure there's some nuggets in there that you can pass along that would enlighten and inspire someone else's life. We're here because you're here. Good night and God bless. Until next time.
God bless.